Hello, everyone. We have a lot of news to cover today, so pay attention because I'm going to go kind of fast. So, first of all, this story is being covered by multiple sources talking about a Zaporizhia nuclear plant employee killed in a car bomb attack. So, let's unpack that. That is exactly the kind of story where you do not want to just read the headline because you might get absolutely the wrong idea of what actually happened. The employee in question was Russian. He was working for Russian authorities and spying for them. And all Russian military and civilian officials in Zaporizhia region, including in areas controlled by the Russians, have been warned. Zaporizhia had a very high rate of sabotage and terrorist attacks against Russian personnel. So it's not like they didn't know. They are having trouble filling in some positions in the Russian occupied areas because they're running out of people, because something bad happens to them. Well, something bad happened to this guy. That's what happens, you work for a terrorist state, you spy, you help occupy someone else's nuclear power station. One day you get into your car and it blows up. I feel very little regret for what happened to him because, again, they have been told to leave. They didn't leave. They did horrible things to Ukrainian people. They expressed no remorse. So that's what's going to happen to you. Nevertheless, Russia continues sending people to Ukraine. Fine. They're going to make really nice sunflower fields. So what is this all about? This is not their existing army contingent. This is folks that did their mandatory 2-year army service when they were younger, right? So they're basically reservists. And now they're being summoned to serve again. They're being retrained with modern weapons, etc. But again, based on the losses up to this point, I don't think they're going to fare any better than the ones that already went there. Again, one of the biggest challenges is that just Russia has a lot of people. And they have no scruples about sending more and more people into the most dangerous zones because they don't care if they pave their way into Ukraine with bodies of their own people. So there is that. Zelensky visits Sumy region. Why is Sumy region important? So if you look at the map, Sumy is one of the regions close to the border. And this has been a region that's been pounded by Russians mercilessly. It gets bombed daily. It's one of those. But nevertheless, that was the point of entry for the Ukrainian military forces into Russia's Kursk region. So imagine this for a second. You have this region close to the border, so it gets just slammed on a daily basis with everything Russians have to offer. Nevertheless, somehow they managed to gather up a bunch of soldiers, a bunch of equipment, a bunch of supplies, and launch a foray into Russia. I mean, I can't even imagine logistically how that was done. But it did happen. And we have more news about the international impact of it all. So again, let's walk through this. More pieces of Russian drones were fished out from a canal in the Danube River Delta in Romania. And once again, understandably, Romanians are not terribly happy about this. They have already spoken up multiple times saying, hey, what are you guys going to do about this? Are we going to do anything preventive? Or are we actually waiting for something to get destroyed, something big, or somebody get killed? What the heck is going on? Well, this is going on. Again, countries bordering Russia and Belarus and Ukraine, you have to keep pushing, guys. From Ukraine, we can only do so much. We're barely having trouble, protecting our own cities. So you have to keep speaking up. You're NATO members, you're EU members. You have more leverage than Ukraine does. So it's in your court, literally. And there's been an investigation ongoing about Ukrainian men who are dodging the draft. And apparently they found a bunch of cash, totally almost $6 million. That's an astronomical sum in Ukraine. I mean, I wouldn't turn down $6 million anywhere. But in Ukraine, that is just like insane amount of money. This was found during a raid of a home of a state official who was helping able-bodied men to dodge the draft. Understandably, that is a crime. And the fact that this man was basically making money off the war, off the tragedy of his own people, is just despicable. There's been another oil depot hit in the border region of Voronezh in Russia. That's a pretty big one. They have 20 great big tanks there of fuel and lubricating oil. So right now there's a big fire there. That again hits Russia into its oil industry where it hurts. This hasn't been brought up before, at least not by major sources, but it should be. So, to understand this particular statement by Kosovo's leader, you have to go back and read up on the history of the Balkan region, how it was affected by the influence of the Soviet Union when Soviet Union still existed, and after the downfall of the Soviet Union. You have to read about Kosovo, the conflict with Serbia, and so on and so forth. So there is a lot of history to unpack there to fully understand this man's concern. Suffice it to say that the smaller countries, such as Bosnia, Montenegro, Kosovo, portions of North Macedonia, are having some concern in case Ukraine should fall to Russia, because that would expand Russia's influence in the region, and Serbia is rather pro-Russian. So they're concerned that their safety and their territorial integrity would be compromised if Russia were to gain more influence. Understandable. Well, good on you, Mr. New NATO Chief, Mark Rutte. Good on you. That's something. I have to applaud, especially since this is dangerous as hell. But as one of his official acts as the new NATO chief, Mark Rutte went and visited Ukraine. And again, I'm kind of hoping that they didn't just show him the prettier, safer parts. Well, nowhere is really safe, but there are some areas that are safer than others. But I hope they showed him, some of the areas that were invaded by Russians, destroyed by Russians, etc., for it to sink in. So far, it's just official statements, that Ukraine has NATO support. But I am wondering if this is going to mean any changes in NATO's strategy, specifically regarding Ukraine's NATO membership, and again, the status on the use of the long-range weapons against Russia. More to come.